Hello everyone, and welcome to Abundantly Minimal. My name is Sarah, and thank you for joining me in today's very cozy video as we talk about gratitude, practicing gratitude on a regular basis, all of the different benefits of it, how you can do it, and I'll even be ending the video with a few perhaps unpopular or controversial opinions regarding the holiday of Thanksgiving from a more minimalist perspective. So we've got a lot of fun stuff here. Grab yourself a cozy beverage if you'd like. I have some almond sugar cookie tea here, and I know I've made videos in front of the fireplace before, but I actually haven't ever turned the fireplace on, but thought, why not? So I hope you enjoy it. Now today's video is the next in the series about Minimalist Living 101. I will leave all the past videos I've done in the description of this video, but in general, gratitude is such an important part of a minimalist lifestyle, and I think also is what is necessary to help us shift our mindset about our items and the value of our items. The ironic truth here is that when we live a maximalist or maximal life with a focus on excess material possessions, we aren't actually able to practice deep gratitude about what we have because we're continuously buying more. We don't have the bandwidth to truly take care of and maintain and respect all of the items in our space. So I think that's the ironic thing about a minimalist lifestyle. Because you have less, you can take care of everything better, and each item means more to you and is more useful to you than if you had all of the things. I know practicing gratitude in my life has been immensely helpful and valuable, and I'm hopeful that this video gives you some tools to be able to practice that. Now, gratitude is something that's talked about a lot, but let's get into the actual benefits. The benefits of practicing gratitude on a regular basis include things like improved mood, higher self-esteem and happiness, lower stress levels, which is also something caused by having less possessions, so they can really work together here. Being able to sleep better, having more appreciation for what we have, and even being less likely to purchase new items or to purchase things for emotional reasons, such as different pain that we have under the surface that might be a root cause in us trying to make another purchase to get rid of that or at least distract us from that pain. There's many other benefits too, but these are just a few that I've reported in my own life. So with that in mind, how does one go about practicing gratitude? There's a variety of different things. For me, what I started with, as well as what I recommend to others who are starting out, is to consider a gratitude journal. Now you can decide, you can either have this as part of any other journaling that you're doing, or you can have some sort of journal or even just a notepad where you write out 3 things you're grateful for every day. It might feel a little bit weird at first. It's one of those things that you can fake it till you make it, even if it feels a little bit disingenuous at first. The point is to just do it. That's a great approach to implement it more on a daily basis, but you also don't have to necessarily do this in written form. But these days, I don't actually write them down anymore. I'll do about 10 minutes of reflection before I go to bed, where I'm just I have the lights off in the house and just kind of looking out the window and reflecting about everything I'm grateful for from that day and then in general. You can also do this in short doses too. Let's say you don't have a regular gratitude practice, but you're having a rough day. Maybe you're having a lot of stress, or you're having trouble seeing things from the big picture or getting out of your head. Maybe consider writing down or coming up with a list of 15 to 20 things that you're grateful for. And the process of doing that is going to help you shift your perspective away from what you don't have or what you wish you had, that perspective of lack, have not perspective, to focusing on what you do have. And this can be a whole host of different situations. You can also get into the practice of, while you are waiting for something, or if you have passive time, using this as a chance to look around you and reflect about what you're grateful for. And when we're brainstorming these ideas of what we are grateful for, there's going to be obvious topics that come to mind. A lot of people will say, oh, I'm grateful for, my family, I'm grateful for my house, like the basic stuff. But I want to encourage us to really dig deep and find even the random things to be grateful for that we haven't necessarily thought about before. Sometimes these might be societal factors Sometimes they might be something that's much larger than us. Sometimes it might be very simple things such as a cup of tea. So with that in mind, there's a lot of different possibilities, but I thought I could model just me hanging out right here, show you what you might be able to come up with that you're grateful for when you really stop and think about it. In terms of my situation right now in this present moment, I'm very grateful that I get to make videos and connect with people who I've never even met who are from all over the world. So cool. I'm grateful that I get to wear comfy clothes and that I have pieces of clothing that are very cozy to me, especially as the temperature gets colder. Speaking of temperature, although I admit winter weather and colder weather is not my favorite, I'm grateful that we have cold weather sometimes, so that then I'm so much more appreciative of the warm weather and I'm not thinking, oh, it's too hot. I'm able to appreciate it even if I'm sweating because I love it so much compared to the colder weather, but it's all balance. I'm grateful I'm sitting on a yoga mat, and number one, I'm grateful because it's kind of cushy compared to if I was just on the floor, and I'm also grateful I've been doing Yoga with Adrienne's YouTube channel Home Challenge, and I've been finding a lot of value in that. It's the first time I've ever done like a continuous yoga practice. Before, I'm on day 12, I think, day 13 maybe. So I've been really enjoying that. I'm grateful to have this fireplace. I really didn't think that I was going to have one in my home, but it's actually been really fun. I don't have a lot of interior design skills, but I do also really like the stone background on it. I really like the colors of it, so I'm grateful for that. I'm even grateful thinking about how far we've come as a human race. Back in the day, Homo habilis, several species before modern day humans, they didn't know how to make fire, or they weren't able to make fire, so they had to depend on lightning strikes to bring about fire. And I'm just thinking how stressful that must have been if you're needing that for various purposes. So how lucky today that I can just turn that on and then turn it off. I'm recording the audio of this video on a microphone that's hooked up to my phone, and I'm so grateful that my phone gives me the ability to connect with people even though I can't see them in current COVID times or just because they live far away. So I'm grateful to talk to my family on a regular basis. I'm grateful to talk with Vera from Simple Happy Zen nearly every day when I have random business questions and abundantly minimal thoughts, even at the wee hours of the morning. Like I said earlier, I'm very grateful for tea. We've got an almond sugar cookie flavor. Again, it's making me feel very festive, but also cozy, great flavor. It's not unhealthy, so I'm grateful for all of those things. I'm even grateful I love this pink mug, so it makes me feel extra special and festive. So these are just a couple examples of things that I'm grateful for just from my immediate surroundings. Now, on the other side of the camera, there's definitely a lot more that I'm also grateful for. Whether I'm looking at my couch or my bookshelf with different books that I've read and loved. And I can further unpack everything I've talked about already too. Because for instance, I talked about my tea, but I didn't talk about how I'm grateful for access to clean water and how that is such a privilege that honestly I take for granted sometimes, and maybe you can relate. So I think it's just important for us to take these little opportunities when we can to really be mindful and go deep on all the different things we can be grateful for, just because we really truly are in the midst of so much. No matter what our circumstances are, there's truly so much that we can be grateful for. Obviously, when you're dealing with present challenges, it's tougher to find those because of pain or suffering that you're dealing with. So I am understanding of that. But I'd encourage you, no matter what your situation is, to try to shift your perspective, even if you feel like you're faking it till you make it a little bit. Just coming up with 3 things you're grateful for every day. Now, it's also possible you've heard that you should be practicing gratitude before, or you've heard the idea, or even me say, to write down 3 things you're grateful for every day, and you haven't yet. If this is the case for you, I invite you to reflect about why is that? Why haven't you chosen to take action and give it a try yet? I'd love for this to be the moment where you shift that and say, you know what, fine. I'm going to give it a try. I'm going to try it for a month. We'll see what happens. 1 minute a day to write down these 3 things. And maybe you'll find that it works out. And if not, no worries. You can move on. But I really encourage you to take action and, apply this kind of practice to your regular life. Now, as we finish up our discussion on gratitude, I want to get into some thoughts about the holiday of Thanksgiving. These could be controversial or unpopular, but I think they need to be said, and maybe you'll resonate with some of these ideas, and you can share in the comments below if you'd like. So the U.S. holiday of Thanksgiving is coming up this month. And while it can definitely be a very meaningful holiday to many people, it's often centered around food and family, there are a few underlying issues that I can't help but notice that I want to bring up, especially as we connect it to a more minimalist lifestyle. First issue has been not necessarily with Thanksgiving itself, but the way Black Friday and these different related sales and focus on consumption and shopping has managed to integrate itself with Thanksgiving. I must admit, before my minimalist days, I did participate in Black Friday shopping several years. I was never the type of person who got there right away, waited in long lines, or was fighting over a TV. Heavens no. But I did go and participate and purchase different things. Many of the things I got great value out of. Other things I bought for the deal and then ended up donating later because I didn't truly need them. They didn't truly add value to my life. That all being said, it is very interesting to me how a day that is supposed to be about being grateful or thankful then is lumped together with excess shopping and deals and basically turning it into a consumer event. Obviously, there is the issue of stores being open and then therefore needing their employees to come in and work, so taking them away from their families. We also can't ignore that those with more wealth are typically the ones who get to stay home and not have to go into work, and those who are working some of these different retail jobs are the ones who have to pay the price for this, and they are some of the people who are not able to spend as much time with family or have all the festivities of Thanksgiving because they're needing to go into work. It's also been interesting to see an evolution. It originally started out as Black Friday was the day, and then it kept going earlier in the morning. There was a phase where stores would open at 3 or 4 in the morning. Before that, then stores started opening on Thursday night for consumption purposes on Thanksgiving Day. And now it seems like there's just a Black Friday season, especially as stores are opening prior to Thanksgiving and throughout that week, even advertising Black Friday deals available various points throughout the month of November. So really we've seen this sort of shopping season continue to expand, and I encourage you to really be reflective of, number one, if you want to buy into that, if you want to participate of it, if it's worth it, and if you are making any purchases that you're not going to regret them later. And of course, as a frugal person, I understand certain sales are worth waiting for, and you can be very intentional at the time period. But especially when we look at impulse purchases, I really have an issue with how that's kind of lumped itself into Thanksgiving times. A second layer here has to do with the concept of gluttony, and specifically with food. In general, we want to be consuming mindfully. When we are not paying attention to what we're eating and we're binge eating or eating past the point of being full, that is very unhealthy for us, no matter what you're eating. And what I can't help but notice, at least in many families, somewhat that I've seen, as well as in popular culture, you're making way more food than is needed is cooked. It's often a high stress environment when this food is being cooked. Everyone gathers around to this giant feast, and then people eat to the point that they feel so stuffed that then it's very common for people to take naps because they're so full. They stuffed themselves so much. And then after all this work and the meal is done, then there's leftovers sent home because too much food was made. Here's the thing. You can make Thanksgiving food at any time. I know in my own life, we enjoy some of the common Thanksgiving foods, veganized for our situation, but last week, we made mashed potatoes and stuffing and some yummy roasted veggies. And that was a delicious dinner, and we weren't stuffed. I wasn't in the kitchen. We made actually a bunch in the Instant Pot, so it was super easy. And that was a way we could enjoy these foods without having it be a whole spectacle. So I encourage you to reflect. Obviously, many families have different traditions of this where people feel very attached to those and wouldn't want to change it. But is there a way that you would want to make your Thanksgiving less gluttonous and a little bit more mindful? And the third key issue here, which will likely be unpopular, but it must be said because it's historically true, is that the history of Thanksgiving is rooted in violence and oppression. Appropriating Native culture and celebrating the conquest of Native or indigenous populations here in the United States. When it comes to Thanksgiving, there's a lot of lies told, and these lies start with childhood. Maybe you've seen arts and crafts projects or even have some home decor that has imagery related to the Pilgrims and Indians and, the feast they're all gathering for, this peaceful, wonderful time. But the thing is, none of that is true. We have no historical proof that, number one, indigenous populations were included in whatever this feast was that happened, as well as the indigenous population living in Plymouth was completely exterminated and killed before the Pilgrims were there. And even the location has historical question marks. While I was never an elementary teacher myself, I will leave a few helpful resources below. So if you've got kids, to share those resources with them and help get to the bottom of it, as well as maybe sharing with your child's teacher in case they maybe have some resources that are more harmful or racist or stereotypical, that also prevents people from having a good understanding of the amazing community of indigenous populations today in the United States, that this isn't, a group from the past who was just peaceful and nothing else. They are not a monolith. So I encourage you to check that out. But again, these things had to be said. And I know, bringing it back to our plans for Thanksgiving, I know many of you know I'm not really a huge fan of holidays. Earth Day is my favorite, if that tells you anything. But I know I'm actually kind of excited this year to not be doing any traditional Thanksgiving celebrations because of the risk of COVID-19. You also might know that the last family gathering I attended did result in me contracting COVID. So definitely no desire to meet up with family members that I had previously been seeing. But I think this is a chance where we can reflect and we can do better. We can be more intentional. We can use these uncertain times and maybe unpleasant times to rethink how we're celebrating different holidays, maybe adjust some traditions we've had and make some modifications that make it a much more intentional holiday going forward, and to celebrate it in the way that makes more sense, or maybe not even celebrate it at all. Obviously you choose, and I know we have a big international community following here too, so I know maybe this part wasn't necessarily relevant. So anyway, we've talked a lot about practicing gratitude. And if you'd like to continue watching Minimalist Living 101 videos, I will leave them here on the screen for you. And feel free to subscribe to the channel. We'll see you next time. Bye.